In 1889, before the construction of Old Main, we had North and South Hall on either side of this old chapel. North was renovated in 1880 to have this Turkish tower and a Gothic aesthetic. Back then, North had rooms for the university president's family and a dining hall. Here's an interesting fact about North Hall's dining.
And back in the late from the 1980 and prior, they had gardens. They'd grow their own vegetables to feed the campus, and there was a dining hall in North where the current rec room and lounge area are. That was student dining.
Infamously, North Hall burned down in 1937 when an oven caught on fire during some homecoming preparation. The university rebuilt North the following year to look the way we know it today. This was partially thanks to Emma Guffey Miller, who helped secure some funds to have a new dorm building built, a new library, and a new president's home during the Great Depression. Rumor has it Emma haunts North Hall now. She got Slippery Rock on the radar in the 1930s when she came to help, quote, revamp our school.
We've all heard about, the haunted North Hall and Emma Guffey Miller, and if you ever have the opportunity to read any of those stories, there's a lot of tales and different perspectives on Emma Guffey Miller.
South Hall was also renovated. It had a clock tower that was used to notify students of mealtimes and classes. In 1893, South Hall burned down for unclear reasons, and it was restored soon after. Sadly, the university deemed it too old in the 70s and had it demolished. In the 60s, we got Rhodes Hall, a women's dorm dedicated to the Dean of Women from 1948. Though we don't have Dean of Women today, they played a vital part in ensuring women had equal opportunities as their male classmates. Patterson Hall, now used by the exercise science and rehabilitation majors, was a dorm building built back in 1958. Slippery Rock has had several privately owned dorms, the most infamous being Riviera Hall, built in 1966, later renamed Krause Hall after it was donated to the university by Stanley Krause in 1983. It was abandoned and demolished in 2018. It was worth $4.5 million when it was demolished. From 1965 to 69, we got Dodds, Harner, and Bard Hall. If this building, Bard Hall, is giving you deja vu, it's because these dorms were demolished in 2006 to make way for the Robert M. Smith Student Center. Before SSC, students spent their free time hanging out in the University Union. Back then, that's where Rockies was. Bard was also the first co-ed dorm on campus, referred to as, quote, a favorable experiment by the director of housing, and that the girls had, quote, a stabilizing effect on the boys. Just down the hill from these three dorms was Founders Hall, constructed in 1974 but condemned by the university in the early 2000s and demolished. Founders was the only high-rise dorm we've had on campus. You can see two of our residential halls in the background of this photo behind Founders, as well as Dodds off to the left. This building is the namesake for Founders Lot. The building of the Rock Apartments began in the 90s. This allowed students to experience real apartment life while still living on campus. Fun fact, April of 1999 is when alcohol was officially banned from all dorm buildings. And then, in 2005, construction began on the residential dorms just before the demolition of Bard, Dodds, and Harner, and the campus began to look the way that we know it today. As of right now, we have A, B, Watson, D, E, and F as our on-campus residential dorms. Watson was named after Dr. Robert Watson, an SRU alum who wrote that infamous book about the university. The other buildings will be named at some point in the future, but we don't know when. As the residential dorms are over 10 years old now, we asked Dan Brown, the director of housing, what changes he expected to see in the coming years.
New systems for ID cards, dining, and residential access control. So we're getting all those areas together, including police with parking and cameras. There is a call for more of the cell phone credentials, where like you see commercials in hotels where you take your cell phone and you hold it up and the door opens. We did pilot a system where you had the phone credentials that would unlock your door, and we did already run a pilot system of that, and students seemed to like it.
Did you know that they are looking into adding like phone credentials for the door so you don't have to have a swipe card?
No, I did not know that.
Yes.
That would be great. That would be awesome.
So instead of the card, it would be like phone.
That would be great. That would be amazing.
In fall of 2022, the university announced that all sophomore students would be required to live on campus in the coming years. So we asked Dan why and how that would benefit the students going forward.
That will start in fall of 23. So any student that is here currently or arriving in the spring won't fall under that requirement for the residency requirement. Some of those reasons are that sophomores that live on campus have a higher GPA. Why? With the support, with the not having to, have the stresses of cooking and managing a home off campus. They have more time to dedicate to academics and also their social life. There's less overhead to manage. They gain that development skills. They continue to gain those social. They get involved.
What is your thoughts of sophomores being required to live on campus next year?
I feel it's not necessary. It is expensive to live on housing, especially for those who live closer to campus. And for upperclassmen who want a place, they're not going to get a good placement with that amount of sophomores coming in.
We also thought it was prominent to ask Dan about the opportunities for work that students living on campus can have.
Our main employment for students is welcome desk attendants. We have 24-hour desk at Watson, at F, and at Rhodes Hall. But that's a big employment for students. We also have facilities assistants, which are students that make deliveries, do pickups, help us with inventory. We also have mailroom staff. And then on the residence life side of the house, we have community assistants that help our residents.